In this video, we're going to do a walkthrough on how to use the VLOOKUP function and the XLOOKUP function. The XLOOKUP function is a more robust version of the VLOOKUP function. So we're going to walk through that step by step. Now, if you want to use the VLOOKUP function, so you start off with the formula, which is the VLOOKUP equals to what do I want to look up, which is the member ID. And I take that member ID, and then the next thing I then do is what is the table array. So the table array, which I would say is the table area I want to look at, and I would also put an absolute reference here for these two. And then the next thing is the column index. Previously, what would have been done is I would come to this sheet and then start counting what I want to return. So that's column 1, column 2, and then I would put a 2 here. So I'll type 2 here and then say an exact match to return it. That's here. However, with the column function that Excel has now, I can make that a bit more dynamic. So if I come here, instead of typing hard coding the number, I would just type the function column and then come back here and then select the cell I want to reference. And then I do the referencing along the rows, and then I close that. So an exact match, and I'm done with that. And this is it here. Now, if I drag this down here, it gives me all the values. And then if I drag it across, it also would give me the same thing. And that's because of the use of the column function. Now, the challenge with VLOOKUP is that if I then take this value here, because VLOOKUP looks from the left to the right, so the item that I'm looking up has to be on the left, and then the other items that I want to return should be on the right of that item. If I take this item here, this column here, and then I put it here, and I paste it to this side, if I copy this or cut it, or if I cut it here, and then I paste it down here, and I come back to this sheet, you would notice that everything becomes NA, which is the downside of using the VLOOKUP function. If we then use the XLOOKUP, so let's do the XLOOKUP here, which is XLOOKUP, and then what the value I want to look up. I want to look up this value here. Remember to do the absolute referencing, or the referencing for the column here, and then the lookup array. So what's the area I want to look up? So I want to look up this area. This is where I'm looking up, and I've done that as the absolute reference here. And then what do I want to return? So I want to return here. So this is what I want to return here. Okay. And then if it's not found, that's the beauty of the XLOOKUP. So if it's not found, I can return an answer. I can return something there. So if I would say no record. If it's not found, no record, what I would use here, and then close that in the quotation mark. And then the other bit here says if there's a match, but so if it's not found, then I want an exact match, which is I'm using 0. Now, it also says if I want to search from the top to the bottom, that's if I want to search from the top to the bottom, or from the bottom to the top, which is -1. So if I have more recent records and I want to search from the bottom to the top, I could use -1, but I'm not going to be using that here. So you just close up the bracket and then enter it. Now you see here, it's returned that value. So if I pull this down here, you see it gives me that. If I pull it across, if I then drag this across, you would see that it gives me the values there. And that's the beauty of the XLOOKUP. So if I then take this value here, if I cut it from here and paste it back here, you would see that with the XLOOKUP, it doesn't change. With the VLOOKUP, you see it's now been updated because the value that you're looking up is from the left, and then the other values you want to return are to the right. So let me know your thoughts. Which do you prefer, the VLOOKUP or the XLOOKUP?